throw on my timer here just for the sake of.
Okay.
And what I'll pause recording real quick.
How do I pause the recording? Oh, geez.
Go back up to recording.
Oh, pause. Oh, whoops.
Hello, my name's Kim Hodson, and I am joined by.
I'm Ramdeep Shergill.
Hi, I'm Fernando Fernandez.
And we are going to be discussing Unit 7, Erik Erikson's Stages of Psychosocial Development. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit about what that is, and then we're going to begin our discussion on each of the stages of development. What is psychosocial development? Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, much like Sigmund Freud, Erikson believed that personality developed in a series of stages. Unlike Freud's theory of psychosexual stages, Erikson's theory described the impact of social experience across the whole lifespan. Erikson was interested in how social interaction and relationships played a role in the development and growth of human beings. Each stage in Erikson's theory builds on the preceding stages and paves the way for following periods of development. In each stage, Erikson believed people experience a conflict that serves as a turning point in development. In Erikson's view, these conflicts are centered on either developing a psychological quality or failing to develop that quality. During these times, the potential for personal growth is high, but so is the potential for failure. If people successfully deal with the conflict, they emerge from the stage with psychological strengths that will serve them well for the rest of their lives. If they fail to deal effectively with these conflicts, they may not develop the essential skills needed for a strong sense of self. Erikson also believed that a sense of competence motivates behaviors and actions. Each stage in Erikson's theory is concerned with becoming competent in an area of life. If the stage is handled well, the person will feel a sense of mastery, which is sometimes referred to as ego strength or ego quality. If the stage is managed poorly, the person will emerge with a sense of inadequacy in that aspect of development. And the first psychosocial stage we're going to talk and discuss is trust versus mistrust. And this stage occurs between birth and 1 year of age.
Okay, so in the psychosocial stage 1, trust versus mistrust, an infant is very dependent on their caregiver. So developing trust and dependability is imperative, and no child is going to develop a sense of 100% trust or 100% doubt, but Erikson believed that successful development was all about striking a balance between two opposing sides when this happens. Children acquire hope, which Erikson described as an openness to experience tempered by some wariness that danger may be present. And I think that this holds a lot of truth, because how our experiences as we're younger amongst other individuals does foreshadow how we will interact with other human beings later on down the road, in my opinion.
I definitely agree with that. I think that, as infants, developing that trust versus mistrust does carry over into adult life. It's, I think, just a natural instinct that, we learn that as children, and it does carry over into, school age children and adults alike. And that is a very good observation that he made there.
I'm in agreement with both of you, because if you don't have that trust that you develop with your parents, especially since they're your main caregivers when you're a child. If you're crying, I mean, it's been noted that children in orphanages who are left alone, who cry and cry and cry, and they don't get that nurturing, and somebody doesn't come and show them. It shows later on in life, there's a complete emotional detachment to those around them, and they don't express hope or any empathy towards others. So trust versus mistrust is a very critical stage in the development of a child.
Yeah.
Very,
And then, oh, go ahead.
oh, very well said, Kim. And then, you want me to go to number 2, or you still have?
Yes, sir.
to-
Go ahead.
All right. So, covering the psychosocial stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt. So this is the second stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, and it takes place during early childhood, and it is focused on children developing a greater sense of personal control. During this point in the development, children are just starting to gain a little independence. They are starting to perform basic actions on their own, and they're also making simple decisions about what they prefer. By allowing kids to make these choices and gain control, parents and caregivers can help their children develop a sense of autonomy. Like Freud, Erikson believed that toilet training was a vital part of this process. However, Erik's reasoning was quite different than that of Freud's. Erikson believed that learning to control one's bodily functions leads to a feeling of control and a sense of independence, which my personal belief is that Erikson was onto something there. And other important events, including gaining more control over food choices, toy preferences, and clothing selection. Children who successfully complete this stage are known to feel secure and confident, while those who do not are left with a sense of inadequacy and self-doubt. Erikson believed that achieving a balance between autonomy and shame and doubt will lead to will, which is the belief that children can act with intention, within reason, and limits. So again, I believe that this stage is a very critical stage. I can see why he included this in his 8 steps. And what do you guys think about this stage here?
Well, I agree with a lot of this stage, but I think that this stage is the first illustration of independence that a child will show. I think that we show independence differently in different stages of our lives, but as far as small children, this is the first. I said illustrate already, but this is pretty much like the first manner in which they will show their independence as they're capable. So it's a critical stage. I do agree with a lot of it.
I agree with it just in the fact that I do have 5 children. There 3 of them are adults now, but I went through this stage 5 different times, and it was always about clothing. My kids had an issue with what they wanted to wear, and sometimes it would become a battle of wills. And Erikson talks about this is where the will develops. And with my first 2, I didn't do so well. I kind of crushed their hopes and dreams at that stage. But when I realized, that I was harming them by not allowing them a choice and a voice to decide what they want to wear, I grew, and it helped them grow and reach that start of independence.
Yeah,
Right.
each kid is different, I think. That's funny too. I mean, I don't have any, but it's so funny how we're all different from one another. So the third one, Kim, do you want to introduce the third one?
Sure. Initiative versus guilt. The third stage of psychosocial development takes place during the preschool years. At this point in psychosocial development, children begin to assert their power and control over the world through directing play and other social interactions. Children who are successful at this stage feel capable and able to lead others. Those who fail to acquire these skills are left with a sense of guilt, self-doubt, and lack of initiative. When ideal balance of individual initiative and a willingness to work with others is achieved, the ego quality known as purpose emerges. I can attest to this stage because I can remember I actually think I developed this a little bit later because I used to love to play school with my other other kids with me, and I would be the teacher, and we would have rules set up, and they would have to follow them, and they would have to do what I said, whether it be doing addition and subtraction and little things like that, or spelling. But it's where I learned how to, work with others and play with others and learned how to be just sociable and not always wanting to get my way.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. They say this is, a stage that develops in preschool, and I do see with, I have two kids of my own, and actually three kids. What am I saying, guys? My mind's all over the place. So don't let my wife hear that. So anyways, with that being said, I can definitely see that in the preschool years, children start to, by playing, they develop that sense of control. They start to assert their power and control. So through directing play on social interactions. And another thing they said was that children who are successful at this age feel capable and able to lead others, which I believe that to be true because I've noticed with kids and even observing other kids, at family functions and things of such that kids who through play, they assert their power and control, they kind of take charge. They end up being able to lead others, or you have the leader of the group, and the kids who aren't necessarily asserting their power in everything. They're kind of in the background. They fail to acquire these skills. They're left with a sense of guilt and self-doubt, a lack of taking initiative, and I can see that with children who kind of shy away, or maybe are later. Maybe it's just that they're later bloomers, because I think at some point we all do develop this, and are natural born leaders, and tend to in some way or another. Not everybody's going to be the same type of leader, but at some point we all, I think, acquire this. But I think most children do acquire this during the preschool years. So that's my thoughts on that.
I agree with aspects of this stage. I do think that, like Fernando said, there comes a point in our lives where, whether we like it or not, we're going to have to take the initiative and be a leader. But I think it's just like thinking of like myself and other people. Some people are late bloomers in this respect. So I think to say that it takes place during preschool years might not hit it right on the spot for me. But I do really, the last statement, when an ideal balance of individual initiative and a willingness to work with others is achieved, the equal quality known as purpose emerges, which I think really, gets it on the nose that purpose should be equal, that you can lead, but you also understand that there are times when you kind of have to follow a little bit too, because then otherwise you kind of have like, I don't know, an alpha individual. But yeah, that's my take on the initiative versus guilt.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yes, very good stuff.
Okay, so is it, whose turn is it now?
Your turn,
mine. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I don't know, I can't remember. Okay. Okay, so psychosocial stage 4, industry versus inferiority. The fourth psychosocial stage takes place during early school year from approximately age 5 to age 11. Through these social interactions, children begin to develop a sense of pride in their accomplishments and abilities. Children who are encouraged and commended by parents and teachers to develop a feeling of competence and belief in their skills. Those who receive little or no encouragement from parents, teachers, or peers will doubt their abilities to be successful. Successfully finding a balance at this stage of psychosocial development leads to strengths known as competence, in which children develop a belief of their abilities to handle tasks set before them. So this one, I think, this one kind of hits it on the money, because I think from 5 to 11, those are like your preteen years, I guess. I don't know what it's like culturally labeled, but your teen years are rough, and then like what happens before then, you're even more like vulnerable. And I think that the part of this description where it says children who are encouraged and commended by parents develop a feeling of competence and belief in their skills. Yeah, those of us who maybe didn't get enough of that become like the self-deprecating like comedian, you know. So yeah, I agree with a lot of that stage, the age bracket, and the description of the significance of it.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good information in this. I can see, you know, from children age 5 to 11, I think that, you know, he was on the money with that as well. But I think that, you know, children who are encouraged and commended by their parents and teachers definitely do develop a sense of confidence in their belief. And whereas those who get little or no encouragement from, you know, parents, teachers, and peers, they will doubt their abilities to be successful. I think that naturally we like when we're praised, and I think it just naturally encourages us to continue to do better. To, you know, if we, in one of the lessons it talked about when you're praised, you know, or you know, you give rewards, you'll continue to do good because you like those rewards, and you know, I think that kind of ties into this. So I can definitely see that during this stage where children develop that sense of pride, and definitely encouraging kids at this age is a good thing so that they can, you know, create that strength known as confidence. So yeah.
I'm a little torn with this one. While I agree that it's the start, I don't think this stage is so definitive with the 5 to 11. I feel that it's an ongoing process because as you get older, you still need that positive reinforcement and you still need people to believe in you. So this is kind of where I can see where some of the naysayers to Erickson's what is it called, stage, where his stages kind of, the lines get kind of blurred. I do agree that it's around that age where this all begins, and that's where, you know, children do learn competence and the positive reinforcements do occur. But I just think that this stage may be a little bit longer than 5 to 11 years.
Maybe until we reach the end, we need, yeah, I think that's what you were trying to say, and I agree with that too. I didn't think of it that way, but now that you mention it, we do need praise.
Yeah.
Forever.
After hearing your take on that, Kim, I 100% have to renege my statement and say that that definitely I like praise. I think we all do, and I think it is encouraging, and so I do agree that it is an ongoing, you know, development in the stage, and because who doesn't like praise, and who doesn't like to be encouraged? And so yeah, I think definitely you had a good point there, Kim. You know, so yeah, that's something to think about, definitely.
Yeah. Fernando, you want to take us to stage 5?
Sure. So psychosocial stage 5, identity versus confusion. So this is the 5th psychosocial stage that takes place during the opulent, turbulent teenage years. So this stage plays an essential role in developing a sense of personal identity, which will continue to influence behavior and development for the rest of a person's life. So during adolescence and this stage, children explore their independence and develop a sense of self. Those who receive proper encouragement and reinforcement through personal exploration will emerge from this stage with a strong sense of self and feelings of independence and control, whereas those who remain unsure of their beliefs and desires will feel insecure and confused about themselves and the future. So when psychologists talk about identity, they're referring to all of the beliefs, ideals, and values that help shape and guide a person's behavior. Com- Completing this stage successfully leads to fidelity, which Erickson described as an ability to live by society's standards and expectations. While Erickson believed that each stage of psychosocial development was important, he placed a particular emphasis on the development of ego identity. Ego identity is the conscious self, uh, the conscious sense of self, excuse me, that we develop through social interaction, and it eventually becomes a central focus during the identity versus confusion stage of the psychosocial development. And according to Erickson, our ego identity constantly changes due to new experiences and information that we acquire in our daily interactions with others. As we have new experiences, we also take on challenges that can help or hinder the development of identity. And then our personal identity gives each of us integrated and cohesive sense of self that endures through our lives. Our sense of personal identity is shaped by our experiences and interactions with others. And it is this identity that helps guide our actions, beliefs, and behaviors as we age. So that is what he has for psychosocial stage 5. And I don't know, I guess I agree that the teenage years are turbulent, and you know, definitely can see how this stage plays an essential role in developing a sense of personal identity. But yeah, I think that again, some people maybe later, it takes them a little while longer to explore their sense of independence. Again, I think that, but he did say that this was something that is ongoing and that lasts a lifetime. So yeah, I think in this manner, he did do a good job by mentioning that, because again, it takes some of us longer than others to develop that stage of independence. And it's good. I like that he pointed out that it's ongoing for life, basically.
Yeah, I don't think that this is like a stage that you can necessarily put an age bracket on. So, like to say that this all happens in our teen years and we exit our teen years self-actualized and all knowing of oneself, it's like, oh, well, if it didn't happen, then what? Then who are you? But yeah, I agree with a lot of it. I mean, I honestly want to say that like today, it seems like all of this stuff kind of happens more for people like in their 20s than it does like in their teen years. But maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the 20s have become the new teens and our 30s are now the new 20s. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree with that since I'm the elder statesman of the group here. No, I agree. Being a teenager is difficult in any age. Um, you're trying to find out who you are. And the stages before that are building up to this. And I can see where if the stages before that, if you haven't had the care, the nurturing, the encouragement, I can see how this can, really affect a teenager's budding identity, and they probably probably would question themselves a lot about who they are and what they're supposed to be doing with their life. I mean, that's what the stage is all about anyway. Um, but I could see where this could be a very hard stage to be in for a teenager if the stages before they weren't really nurtured and developed.
Yeah, like if the other stages were not met adequately, then this one would probably come later, right? Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely all good stuff. So again, something to think about.
Yeah. Kim, is it your turn or is it
It's your
mine? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So stage 6, intimacy versus isolation. So this stage covers the period of early adulthood when people are exploring personal relationships Erickson believed that it was vital that people develop close, committed relationships with other people. Those who are successful at this step will form relationships that are enduring and secure. Remember that each step builds on skills in previous steps. Erickson believed that a strong sense of personal identity was important for developing intimate relationships. Studies have demonstrated that those with a poor sense of self tend to have less committed relationships and are more likely to suffer emotional isolation, loneliness, and depression. Successful resolution of this stage results in virtue known as love. It is marked by the ability to form lasting and meaningful relationships with other people. So I agree with many points in this stage. I think I wrote part of one of my module things on this one, but how we just said, stage 5 can come later. How this stage addresses pretty much that you cannot love somebody else before you love yourself, and until you love yourself, which who knows when that is, for you to have like a romantic relationship, it will be very hard. So I agree with a lot of this. And then also it covers a period of early adulthood. In regards to, I think, they speak about the virtue known as love, but I think like the mature, secure relationships that it seems like that it's touching on do happen later after one has achieved like all of the other steps and they are like self-actualized. So I think that the bracket of early adulthood being like the beginning point of this is accurate. Like, I don't think that this stage can come like in your teen years. Your frontal lobes are not developed either, I think, in your teen years.
For a while. I've got a quick question for you both. It's been popping around in my head for a little bit. With COVID and all of this craziness that's happened within the last 2 years, I think the stages don't work quite as well when it comes to developing that intimacy with someone. Because I kind of feel like it's talking about, I mean, love in the sense of you can have friends who you love and things like that. And with COVID happening and everybody being isolated, it's kind of taken away from, people developing, more intimacy with each other and developing friendships and things like that. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with that, Kim. I think that it's hindering us from, developing these, getting out and just creating these relationships. I think that, we have those relationships with the people that we've already become close to and, we're committed to and things of such. But what about for those people who, are just emerging into this stage and who, have yet to meet those people? I mean, people who, if you're, isolating and, being safe and all that, I mean, I think it's very hard to develop these relationships. So yeah, I think that when he developed these, he definitely did not have COVID in mind. but that, I think that that's a very good point, Kim, and I think that we have to reevaluate these, considering COVID, and that maybe think about that with our students, or when we think about this, that there's going to be a lot of people, especially young people, who were really affected by these almost 2 years now, or that we've been on this lockdown. So yeah, I think that was a very good point to bring up. But as far as this stage of it, I can see how the having self-love and getting to that stage allows you to create these relationships, meaningful relationships, and so yeah, I can see that. Good point there, Kim.
I just real quickly, I just think that with COVID, the opportunity to make new relationships was sort of taken away. And then to maintain relationships that you had became more difficult is pretty much what what happened. So yeah, going forward, I think it's affected everybody in some form or fashion. So yeah, this will be just something that's going to bleed on and ripple for
Yeah,
who knows
we'll
how
feel it
long.
for a while, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving on to psychosocial stage 7, generativity versus stagnation. During adulthood, we continue to build our lives, focusing on our career and family. Those who are successful during this phase will feel that they are contributing to the world by being active in their home and community. Those who fail to attain this skill will feel unproductive and uninvolved in the world. Care is the virtue achieved when this stage is handled successfully. Being proud of your accomplishments, watching your children grow into adults, and developing a sense of unity with your life partner are important accomplishments of this stage. Well, I've been there and done that. I do have adult children. Like I said, I have I have 4 adult children and an 11-year-old. So it is nice. It's a nice feeling. And I love them with everything I have, and everything I do is to show them what can be done in life and how they can achieve, their goals if they work hard enough for it. And watching them become adults and go through life and learn lessons that you can no longer teach them is, you know, kind of scary, but at the same time, it's kind of fulfilling. So I completely agree with his thoughts on this stage.
I also would have to say that I agree with his thoughts on that. I do believe that, during adulthood, we still continue to build our lives. Definitely, our focuses do change, into career and family, and for most people. And, I think that that is a very good thing. And I think that as I became more mature and everything, which was a while back, but definitely feel that I felt, or I felt like I was contributing to the world by being active in my home and community, as he states there. And I can also see somewhat how those who fail to attain this will feel unproductive, but I don't know, that's kind of questionable because some people, they don't do the whole family thing, and they don't have to focus on their career and family. They have enough going on, or maybe they choose not to, do things with their life. But I don't necessarily feel that everyone will feel unproductive and uninvolved in the world. And that's good and bad. I mean, of course, we see those people who have no good intentions, and they don't care about their. And I doubt that they feel unproductive and uninvolved. Maybe when they reflect, but I think this can go either way. But I do feel that for me personally, that achieving this did definitely make me feel like I was, active in my house and within the community. And I do, I'm still growing and still evolving, and but I am, I do feel that, that he's somewhat on point. But just as far as, I think not everyone is affected in the same way by this psychosocial stage.
Um, so I do agree that there are certain how do I phrase this? There are certain aspects, boxes per se, that need to be checked for us to feel as though we have not only purpose, but that we've given back to the community. But it's not limited to just career and family. And that's pretty much my opinion of this stage. It could be more than just the two. Definitely right now, like in my life, just like working with some of these kids, like when the light bulb finally, shines, then I finally feel like, okay, I've given back a little bit. I've made a sliver of a difference. But as far as like the family portion, I can't resonate with that part yet. But the career portion, I can. So, but and like Fernando said, it is different for everybody, so it shouldn't be limited to just those two fields.
Well said. Well said. So, moving on to the psychosocial stage 8, integrity versus despair. This is the final the final psychosocial stage, and this occurs during old age, and it is focused on reflecting back on life. So, at this point in development, people look back on the events of their lives and determine if they are happy with the life that they've lived, or if they regret the things that they did or didn't do. Those who are unsuccessful during this stage will feel that their life has been wasted and will experience many regrets. The individual will be left with feelings of bitterness and despair. So, looking at that, I would have to say that that is probably a stage that most people do go through, reflecting during old age. I mean, I'd like to say that none of us are old. Definitely the 30 and 40 is the new 20 and 30, I'd like to say. I think it's all our age is just a number, I'd like to think. But I do think that, once we get older, I think that we do reflect back on our lives and, determine whether we're happy with what we live, the way we lived, the decisions we made, or if we regret some of the things we did or didn't do. And I think that not everybody, though, feels like I'd have to, somewhat agree with this, but somewhat also, again, it says those who are unsuccessful during the stage will feel that their life has been wasted and experience many regrets. For a lot of people, yes. Again, for others, I think that, they live with no regrets, and they're not going to let, what they've done in the past cause them to have feelings of bitterness and despair. I think they're going to move on. A lot of people, and, just say, I'm going to live with no regrets, and I'm living for tomorrow and not for the past. I think that that's probably even people who had a successful life, but they have some regrets. I think even those people, which I have some regrets, I think we all do, but I don't ponder on them and feel bitter and have feelings of despair. I just, no matter how old we are, I think we can still look forward to things that are going to happen in the future. So.
Yeah, I think that the integrity versus despair, it seems like there are events that will make us bitter throughout our lives. It doesn't all just happen in a nice little neat package at the end where we look back and think, okay, let me go through the book of Fernando or the book of Kim and let me think, I'm bitter now. I just think that what's said in this stage is more like emotions that we just kind of go through. We experience them, we get over them, we may experience them again, we may never experience them again. But yeah, that's my take on that. Maybe you have more time to dwell on them as you get older, but I don't think that's how we spend most of our time.
Right. I hope that I'm not going to be one of those old people that sit around and regret my life. I hope I look back at it, with good thoughts. And yes, there are going to be some regrets, but I don't feel that I'm going to become bitter or despair from them. Life happens. You got to live it, and how you live it, it's up to you. So if you have regrets, work on it, fix it, move on, like Fernando said. And yeah, I think this is another one of those stages where the lines get blurred, because you can be an unhappy 20-year-old and an unhappy 80-year-old and have regrets of what you've done when you were a teenager, of what you've done, in middle age and so on and so forth. So, through all of these stages, it seems like, we all basically agreed, pretty much that, it's a nice framework, it's a nice foundation to help us navigate, especially, in our focus of adolescence, of teenagers. It explains a lot. It helps explains a lot. It leaves some things open, for interpretation and for, more study and research. But at least it's got the conversation started.
Yes.
I agree. I think that it is a good, solid framework, but there's a lot of room for interpretation.
Mhm.
Everybody's different, and but I do, think it's a good, start, a good foundation, and we can decide which way we go, but yeah, I think this was a good thing to look at. I really like this module, and I'm glad we did our discussion on this.
Yeah, it was a very sound outline. It was fun to read.
Well, yeah, I think that covers the 8 psychosocial stages of development, and that was our presentation. Thank you guys all for listening, and thank you guys.
All right. So I should hit stop recording now, right? Okay. Stop recording. There we go. You want to
Woohoo!
stop?
Yeah, we went for about 40 minutes, but I